So why do I feel like it's so important to start with the nervous system first? This has been an evolution of my own journey into understanding the mechanisms of health that really structure the basis of where we feel safe enough to step into other protocols that we may need and that we may need to call in on our healing path. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about my own personal story and where that has shown up for me in these aha moments to realize that we are working with a system that needs to feel safe and that needs to be supported at that baseline level. It really is something that I address before I move into guiding a client towards any protocol or therapy or diet or supplement change. The nervous system starts first. If you follow me or if I've worked with you, you have seen my story a little bit and you've heard about where I presented with very chronic, debilitating fatigue and neurological symptoms and digestive disorders and really everything on the list in terms of symptoms of your body screaming that, hey, I need some support that I'm not getting. And the medical system that we are used to going and getting blood work and everything looks fine, and the referral network where we segment and divide the body, it wasn't working. And it doesn't work for a lot of people, and maybe you're watching this because it hasn't worked for you. So first, my heart goes out to you because you have been on a journey, my friend, that has brought you to my channel, and I'm excited for you because I am speaking to you. I have been where you are, and I have felt the hopelessness of the pain of being in a body you don't understand. It is, when we talk about the whole nature of this video, I want to highlight the top reasons so that you leave with an understanding of a little bit of a better navigation system for your journey of where to start and how to begin this process in a way that really respects your body, your timing, and remembering that your healing is not linear. We are never moving in an upward acceleration of healing. We are essentially ebbing and flowing with a system of renewal and breaking down. We are in autophagy and we are in mTOR. And respecting the nature of that rest and digest, of that heal and absorb, is probably the most foundational thing that I've learned in my own healing journey. And as a practitioner, and I'm trained in multiple modalities, I am a massage therapist. More recently, in the last several years, I am someone who can help look through your genetics with you and analyze them from a nutrigenomic lens. So that's a really interesting and valuable viewpoint that I feel like has helped me. Something missing, again, in bringing things together as to the why we might be dealing with chronic illness. But for the nature and purpose of this video, I'm going to summarize and keep things moving towards nervous system and a deeper understanding of why I always start, even though I have these other tools available, with nervous system focused care. So most people, when they start working on their health, they start with food. And while that's not a terrible idea, we're thinking about hydration, we're thinking about sleep, we're thinking about the basics, and there's a lot of information out there on how to start with food, a lot of information. And may I emphasize that that can be in and of itself a sense of overwhelm to a system that is already struggling to manage digestion. And when we talk about assimilation of nutrients, we have to address the nervous system piece. And let me break down some of that biology with you in terms of when we sit down to a meal. The first thing that we're doing is sitting with that food, we're chewing that food, we're creating enzymes. And those enzymes in the mouth are breaking down food and telling our digestive tract we need to have this amount of stomach acid ready. And a more acidic body influenced by a heightened level of stress is going to have different rates of enzymes available, as well as an effect on the activity of pepsin that is activated to break down proteins. A more acidic, highly stressed body is going to be more focused on survival, and less blood flow actually is going to be in our gut and digestive organs. we tend to be a lot more restricted and tight in our bodies. So we are chewing generally less, swallowing larger pieces of food, and this is all very subconscious. And we are certainly subject to where this is by habit and by nature. And some people are just more proficient at chewing well, they are more mindful, but most of us, when we're in a state of hurry and busy and do and perform, which is the classic nervous system dysregulated state, which most of us, I will add, are in at this point. And we'll discuss why more towards the end of the video. So that is just a few ways that starting with food first may not have the outcome that we want. Something that in my own journey was really, I would say, an aha moment was, I'm not really getting better from this diet. In fact, I feel worse. And I did a number of diets that were actually very well recommended from, any of the books in the field at the time. And I did Dr. Natasha Campbell's The GAPS diet, which put me in ketosis. And actually, I'm a very bad candidate for ketosis for genetic reasons and other reasons, but I felt very, very much worse on that diet. Now, if you've tried that and it's great for you, again, I'm going to emphasize, there was a podcast I listened to recently, and the doctor on there said probably one of the most wise things I have heard, that human beings cover the planet like cockroaches, and we have this incredible ability to adapt and diversify. And we see this when we study genetics. We can develop such as a homozygous variant on breaking down lactase in dairy or lactose. And this person will be able to break down lactose as an adult. And that to me speaks to our ability to adapt. So in a healing state where you are dealing with a lot of symptoms and your body is fatigued, fatigue is one of the first signs that we need to do nervous system work, that we need to go down to the baseline and create safety and lower that alarm system. Somewhere the body had a stress signal that added onto another stress signal and then another one, and now we are at that stress threshold of what I call the 7, 8, 9, 10. And once we start breaking 9, 10, this is when the body starts being very loud about its symptoms, and it wants support. It wants you to call it in and heal. Healing doesn't happen when we just start with food, and this is where maybe you're dealing with someone who isn't working with food first, who's just doing therapies, and they might have a better outcome. And I mean like massage, or they just start walking, for 20 minutes a day, or they start even hydrating better, or maybe their social environment improves and we start to see health improve. It's been shown that we need a strong social structure to be able to thrive. And when you have 1, 2, or 3 of those variants that I just talked about kind of breaking down and you feel this deficit, your nervous system has to try to compensate. And so again, that nervous system support comes first. When it comes to people with IBS, which is just an umbrella term, and with Crohn's we have a little bit more information where there's genetic markers for that. But again, inflammation, dysbiosis, you're dealing with a gut lining that is very reactive, and there's other symptoms on top of that. So it isn't just what we can isolate and name. And Western medicine is very good at saying, hey, there's this idiopathic problem, and then giving it a name, like multiple sclerosis, we don't know the cause. Like arthritis, we don't know the cause. There's so many illnesses and autoimmune diseases that are present now that we do not know the cause. So coming back in to that stress response and seeing symptoms improve and disease markers go down, this is something that we can all agree on is a huge piece of the health puzzle, and something that really resonated with me early on in my coaching work was, I've got to go about this in a different way. And I was talking about nervous system focused care long before I started to see a trend on social media, and I'm so glad that more awareness is coming out about nervous system centered care first before we address food, and certainly before we add in supplements. So there's this analogy that we talk about, and you've probably heard this, where if a fish is sick, we clean the tank. This is This is how people will also start with working with detox protocols before they get the nervous system working well. So again, when we start these detox protocols and we are in a state of that hypervigilant threat response, that's really what we're talking about, is a nervous system that is easy to startle, and the signs may not always be, you may not always fit all of the signs of a hypervigilant nervous system. And I do have a quiz on this that I'm going to put a link to in the show notes or the links below so that you can try this quiz out and see where you feel like you land from the results so that you can get a better view of where you can start with your own health journey. So when we're talking about how long food stays in the system, that is affected by nervous system regulation. We have the vagus nerve tone that we talk about in health communities a lot. It is well established that the vagus nerve has very in tune correlations with our nervous system regulation, but our digestion, our autonomic functions, our heart rate, our body temperature. And this vagus nerve, the way that I explain it to clients, branches out from the brain, it comes down, and it branches out down by the diaphragm like a tree. And it is feeding and nourishing our internal organs, and it also regulates a lot of our rhythms. So someone with good vagal tone, as we call it, might be someone who's more resilient, someone whose system has more capacity for trying the supplement or changing their diet or trying to add something else in, like weightlifting or exercise recovery. Someone with poor vagal tone, you might consider that this is someone you need to dial it back with, start very, very small. No overwhelming pieces here. That is very much something that the best laid plan will come to failure when there's overwhelm. The nervous system has to agree with the work being done. And that is true with body work, with adding foot zone therapy or lymphatic drainage, cranial sacral work. Intuitive practitioners are very much worth seeking out. And for a lot of people in that hyperarousal state, these are tools that they can come in and receive very gentle, light touch, thoughtful care that can produce a huge shift with the nervous system. So the nervous system has to agree with the work. I do not start diet first. So what do I mean by the nervous system needing to agree with the work? So think about when you've gone in for a deep tissue massage and you feel great for maybe a couple days, maybe a day, and then you feel worse. Everything feels bound up, tighter than it was. You're in more pain than you were a couple days ago. That is how I explain that rebound effect where the nervous system took injury over therapy. It was too much, it was too fast, too deep. And those are the three criteria for how we build stress and trauma, even to a PTSD level in the body. And in the trauma training that I've gone through, it's something that is taught is that if trauma is held in the body and we have a recurring reaction, so say we got into a car accident and our heart raced and our stress level was about 8, 9, 10, this event happened at a certain area of heightened physiological response. Our heart was racing, we were perspiring, we had a lot of anxiety, we had fear. All of those things compounded and they came at us very fast. We really didn't know if we were going to be okay. And how many times do we have little micro events like that that continually train our system to respond at that heightened level? So the way that PTSD works is we have a system that had something that we created at that alarm state, whether it was an accident, an injury, or some type of emotional trauma that led us to stack. Everything calmed down. Say this happened 15 years ago. Everything calmed down in the system. And now we have an event where we passed by the road and that turn, or there was a car or something triggers what that event was like when we got into that accident. And now we have this heightened state again, that it seems to simultaneously come out of nothing, but it doesn't come out of nothing. It comes from that stack, those events, those patterns that your body never cleared or processed thoroughly or in a healthy way. Maybe, we really are taught in this current situation that we find ourselves in to suppress a lot of things that go on with us. It's almost just second nature for us to sidestep a process of feeling something deeply, even though to feel something deeply, we are coming to a state of acceptance. And maybe it's uncomfortable to show emotion in the environment that we're in, or we've been shamed or raised to believe it is weak or less than to show these types of emotions. That's very relevant in the conversation around how we develop a body with stored and layered trauma or experiences that lead us towards this sympathetic tone. So maybe that makes sense why now we have a system that's more attuned to looking for threats. Our brains are a supercomputer, and their whole job is to protect us and look for the threats so that we don't experience that same outcome again. That outcome was dangerous. And I see this as a massage therapist in the tissues of the body. Every single day that I have my hands on someone's tissues and their fascia and their body speaks volumes about where they're holding their stress and their tension. I had an aha connection when I was in a cadaver lab in massage school a few years ago, and we were breaking down anatomy, but something was different. This was the second lab I was able to be a part of, and from a nervous system lens, I was very surprised to see that, or to make the connection that muscles and tension evolved or revolved around this emotional tension, this stress tension that drove our physiology. And in so many ways, it's just connected. There's nothing that operates in isolation. So this moment of connection for me that I made in the cadaver lab was when we were talking about the muscle spindle fibers, which send the signal of how, back to the brain and the nervous system, of how something should be tight or long or short. This is essentially a tight muscle. And when we do yoga and we stretch our muscles or we lengthen our muscles, we are asking the body to stretch and give feedback. How far can I go with this stretch before my body says that's painful and you should stop there or we're going to hurt ourselves? This is a feedback system. And I love working with this knowledge base that we can negotiate terms with the nervous system, because it is a resilient system when it is working well, and it is a rebound, tight, compressed system when there is a lot of trauma and recurring threats going on with that nervous system. And I guess it would be fair to say that system has learned to brace, and literally physically there's less circulation, there's less blood flow. When our fascia is tight and restricted and balled up, it tends to harden. And our joints feel this. We feel this in headaches and migraines and eye strain. Our posture changes. You can always see when someone comes in when their hips are hurting or their lower back is tight. And the relief that they can feel when they start to make that connection. Yes, there's things in my body that are speaking to me and telling me that I need to make changes and heal these traumas. There's just so many countless client experiences that I'm so grateful for, because yes, I've learned so much from my body, but from this work that I do, I just learned so much from my clients and the stories that they trust me with and the experiences that they shift through. It is a beautiful experience of growth and evolution that I get to see as a massage therapist and as a health coach, that we don't always need these deeper interventions. When we approach the nervous system first, somehow the IBS improves and the heart palpitations go away and the blood pressure regulates and stabilizes and the neuropathy improves just by having this type of awareness that my body is worth this time. My body is worth this investment of whatever it is that works for you. Now, I talk about it from a massage therapist point of view, and I so appreciate that education, but there's so many ways for us to influence and so many systems that we can create this somatic change. I will be completely honest. Somatic therapy was new to me 5 years ago. I didn't know what the word meant. And now it's just, I hear it all the time and see it all the time, and everyone's talking about somatic therapy, and I love that because it means body. And as we embody our story, our experiences and we grow and learn in and accept. I feel like there's just this level of deep acceptance we have to come to heal what has been repressed, what has been forgotten. Nothing is forgotten in your body. Your body stores this information, and there's a lot of different ways that we can break that down, and maybe I will in a future video, but it can be agreed through most practices. When you look at Chinese Ayurvedic medicine to other borders of medicine where we look at other modalities and practices and respects to the body is the somatic envelope of our experience. It is embracing and holding and storing for us what was too big, too heavy, too much for us to experience safely and transcend through safely at that time that we experienced it. So I have just this uttermost respect and appreciation for my body when I have learned to step back and just appreciate that all these signs and symptoms, and easy to look at as failings, that I have bashed my body in the past. To be fair, someone on that chronic illness plane knows what I'm talking about. You feel like your body has failed you on some level and you're wondering what you did wrong, what you didn't do right with your diet or your supplements, where you could fine tune this. And so there again, we're coming back to that nervous, and the fascia system influences every body of health. And to touch back on digestion and IBS, I want to just say that when we talk about the bowels moving quickly or the bowels moving slow, these are both two sides of the same coin. We're dealing with a system with poor regulation. So there's different inputs that tell the nervous system. So you might know this from if you have to catch a plane and you have a 5 a.m. or you have a red eye and something offsets your circadian cycle, then now you're dealing with a system that doesn't feel quite right. And maybe you blame it on the French fries that you had at 12 a.m. or this really off protein shake that was available for you at this drive-through. Whatever it was, you've thrown off your system, but your nervous system has a response to that stress first. So going forward, if there's one takeaway from this video, I hope that you feel a little bit more understanding and maybe a little more compassion for the system that is your body, this beautiful system that is working and trying to heal every day. And that has been a level of respect that I've come to in my own journey, sitting with gratitude. And there's one thought I would leave you with that has given me a lot of peace and a lot of encouragement, and it is some of the studies coming out on, I'm sure it's in the meditation field, but on gut biome and how we can influence it through the act of gratitude. And just having a gratitude practice, you don't have to journal, but I highly recommend writing something down that you are grateful for and really sitting with that thing. I like to put my hands over my heart. I like to close my eyes and really sit with that coherence that I can create with my heart. The Heart Meth Institute talks about this practice, and I try to start here because this is a very accessible and tangible way people can start to influence their gut health. And it is, these studies are beautiful because you think you're going to spend money on this expensive probiotic and this really pricey out of reach supplement protocol, where some of the best changes are free. They really are free, and they're available to you and me by sitting with this gratitude practice. We can shift our gut biome in a very positive way. So I want to leave you with that and send you the best healing vibes, and may you find more answers on your health journey. If you are looking to be supported, I do offer this type of support and coaching, and you'll find more information down below.